Hello, I'm Gareth McCormick.
And I'm Tina Darcy.
And we've been going on a course to produce a sort of film with absolutely no idea what subject we're going to do. But on Monday the 8th of April, we heard some breaking news. Now, Margaret Thatcher, the first woman Prime Minister, had died at the age of 87. She suffered a stroke at the Ritz Hotel at 11:30 Monday morning.
When the news came through, we put our heads together and neither of us knew very much about Margaret Thatcher. So what we decided to do was some research on the streets of Mould of how she affected us in the surrounding areas.
My opinions of Margaret Thatcher, well, to say it was kind of before I was old enough to vote when she was in power, but what I can remember of her is people weren't very enamoured with her, but then again, she did win 3 elections, so someone must have been enamoured with her.
I think she was the right person at the right time, you know, that we needed somebody to sort of lift us after the previous PMs, and I think she did a reasonable job while she was there.
Big loss, I think, it's a big loss, because she done something that the time she been, but now the time is much different now. No?
Yeah.
I think you need somebody like her, because she done something, yeah.
She was a very strong person, and when she was voted in, even though I didn't vote for her, I thought at least it would be the start of something happening for women. But even that, no, she wasn't interested in sharing power or anybody else getting or helping make other people's lives better through what she was.
Some positive, some negative. I think she did a lot for women, really, in a way, because she was First Lady Prime Minister.
I think it is a great loss. I think she was, a very inspirational, strong woman, and I appreciate that not everybody is going to agreed with her politics, and she upset a lot of people. But the fact was, she stood her ground, and she did a lot for women.
It didn't matter whether she was a woman, she was more of a man than many men, and that's what the Conservative Party loved her for, because she was a leader, as they call it.
I think she was brought in power. A lot of women voted for her because she was the first woman in politics. Well, personally, I did not vote for her.
I didn't believe in a lot of her policies, but I think when the Falklands came, I think she was brilliant.
Right.
I do, yeah.
The first thing they did when they came into power, Margaret Thatcher, was increase our wages straight away, which improved our conditions because we were very poorly paid at that time. And then later on in the Falklands, she was the leader really we needed during the Falklands War, because everyone else at the time was pussyfoot about it as such, and she went in there guns blazing, which was good for the forces and I think good for the Falkland Islanders.
Before she was Prime Minister, to milk off the school kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, for that, wasn't she?
Yeah. She took on the unions, for one thing, and I think that was the right thing to do. I think the unions had got ahead of themselves and were dictating, to the government really how things should go, and that should never be allowed to happen. I think the unions got out of hand, and they've helped to cause, to me, the exit of our industry out of this country, because people, you're in business to make money and to supply jobs. And they were demanding too much.
She upset some people with their policies, but she took on the trade unions and won, I think. Over and all, some good policies and some bad policies.
Well, the way I seem to remember it is she affects a lot of people's lives, and by basically killing or trying to kill industry in this country, try and make us into a load of bankers rather than productive.
Yeah, but unfortunately we lost our industry, so we haven't got a real industrial nation anymore. We're more of a service nation.
What astounded me was I went on Facebook and the number of hateful negative comments about, being glad that somebody had died just totally disgusted me. And this was actually from, certain friends of mine, and of course the news has really divided the country. I think there's two extremes, certainly.
I think she was the single most vicious thing that ever happened to the arts in terms of government, and I was appalled at what she's done, what she did to the nation, the divisiveness of it, and the fact that we were trying to bring it back from that brink, the brink that she caused, and now it's starting all over again. And I think she was quite a selfish, opinionated woman who shouldn't really have been venerated in the way that she is.
I'll be watching her funeral on the telly, and I think she does deserve a ceremonial funeral, which a lot of people are disagreeing with that, but the fact was she made history, didn't she?
After interviewing the people of Mould, we decided to turn the cameras on each other and discuss how Margaret Thatcher's policies have affected our own lives.
We started by asking one another what's important to us, and the results may be a bit surprising.
School for me was quite difficult. I didn't go to primary school very often because of problems at home preventing me. And when I was in school, I was full of a lot of worries. In high school I was quite naughty, and attendance was again quite low, with a lot of bullying as well, from primary school through to high school. High school got better in the last 2 years though. I'm going into lessons with the thought, I don't need this for what I want to do. Slowly started to realise that it's all really important, and realising how hard it was to achieve what I wanted to. I was accepted into the Hammond School of Performing Arts, but I couldn't get any funding for it. That was really difficult, with it being so expensive. From having the thought that I was going to be going there, to then not being in a college or school at all because I hadn't done any other interviews or auditions for other schools. I was in a very tough situation. I'm very mixed about benefit cuts, because in one way I think that benefit cuts are a form of encouragement for people to get jobs. But then again, there are people that need benefits to survive. My little brother has autism and fetal alcohol syndrome, and he's 3 years old and still doesn't talk. He communicates through Makaton, which is sign language for children, and pet cards, which he's getting quite good at. But occasionally we see like a deterioration in his abilities. Like he was able to speak for a bit, just little words, but now he doesn't try anymore, which frustrates him a lot. And he was born addicted to heroin. Like, it's a tiny amount of money that we get for Jackson's disability, because he's so young, and it costs a lot to look after him, an awful lot. When I see that people on benefits called scroungers, I think, honestly, I think some are. So I've walked through Mould and sat on a bench to eat lunch and overheard a conversation of someone excited that they're pregnant because of how much benefits they're going to get, and what they can buy with that. Like, she was like, oh yeah, we could get a new TV for the living room, and I was like, our house is a 3-bedroom council house, and we've had to build 2 bedrooms. We've got like a partition wall in our front room that's made a bedroom in there, and the biggest bedroom split down the middle for 2 people. And we can't get financial support for building an extension or like converting the attic or anything, because it's a council house. Well, my nan doesn't work because she had an accident in work a few years ago, which means that she physically can't work anymore. And my granddad doesn't work because he's my little brother's full-time carer. So there's not really enough money to support the amount of us that are in the house. And my nan's the most wonderful person in the world. She's the most selfless person that I've ever met, and has done so much. And I worry that, maybe she, in her life, won't get the recognition she deserves, or that she won't feel appreciated. Stability. For my future, that stability is all I want. I could cope with anything. Oh, and to be doing something that I enjoy. You know, that's what everyone wants. But I guess not everyone can have it that way. But if you can take anything positively, then I think you're in a good place for a future.
Personally, I'm still looking for a job because about 2 million are still without a job. I'm on volunteer work, that's fine by me. I've got a job, but it's on volunteer. But I'm still searching for jobs. I'm still trying to get into the media, which is my passion. And currently I make films at the moment. I'm a filmmaker for 5 years now. And I've also got a YouTube channel which is currently going very well. The government's going all over the place at the moment, and they've got to pull themselves together. They've got to find jobs that are righted for people as well. They've got to look at jobs with people with disabilities. They've got to treat them right. I've got a disability myself, and I haven't got a job because some jobs are too tough. I've been trying to find a job, and sometimes they've been too tough on me. Or maybe they're not accepting me because I've got a disability. And maybe they're just they're just ignoring me. And I don't want to do that. I don't want them to do that. So the government needs to pull their finger out. I don't care, but they have to. It's so wrong. Bullying was a main issue with me in school, in high school, not primary school. Secondary school was hard because got so many people. I was bullied because of probably the way I looked and the way I acted, due to the fact when I'm nervous. Sometimes when I was nervous, if everything was not going to plan, Like, for example, getting tripped up, getting your bag messed up, that's the main thing. I was like confused. It's not because I didn't understand, and sometimes I was very gullible because I've been bullied about that. I've been teased loads of times. Well, there's a lot of things that are important to me at the moment. Trying to save this planet. For example, there is a load of crime, like knife crime and gun crime. There's so many young people getting killed. I've got other things on my mind, like saving the planet, saving the people of Africa. I'm also trying to do charity as well, just to try and save the people of the world, because the whole world is affected at the moment. We've got hurricanes in the USA, we've got starvation in Africa, there's many problems in the Asian countries as well. But if we can try and pull together as a whole world and try and stop this, that's what I'm aiming to do. Having turned the cameras on ourselves,
we decided to turn the camera onto our project director, Greg Cullen.
I think these films that we've made over the last 3 months, and you are the first people to actually turn the cameras around on us and say, well, what do you think? Speak for themselves. Each group of young people that we've made films with, their interests have naturally arisen to the surface. And I think one of the things that we've learned in doing these films is a lot about what you could call the condition of young people in our society today. That we are facing a lost generation in terms of their educational opportunities, their abilities to enjoy the arts, their abilities to find work, education, employment, training. All of these things are being hacked back, whilst at the same time this government is telling us that we have to pay back this debt for the sake of our children and our grandchildren. If we are really doing that, then why is it so often the case, not just in this country but across the whole of Europe, that it's young people who are being cut back? It's the young people's rights and responsibilities which are never going to be fully realised. Their opportunities are being hemmed back. So if we really do care about our young people, we should be investing in them more heavily than ever before, because it's you that's going to get us out of this long-term recession. It's you that has to live with the future. It's you that has to imagine what the future is going to be. Not us, because I'm not going to be here. It's you guys. So to cut off the blood supply of culture and education opportunities to young people is a long-term disaster, and we will reap the benefits in 30, 40 years' time, just as the same way we are reaping the benefits of Thatcher 30 years later. Well, when she first got elected as leader of the Conservative Party, I thought it was probably going to be a good thing, because she would force people to wake up to the changes that were being forced upon us. And one by one, she picked the trade unions off, the nurses, the dockers, steel workers, until she got to the miners. And in the great strike of 1984-85, we knew that if we lost that strike, as people of the left, that we would be facing a completely new Britain, and she knew that too. Unfortunately, the miners lost that strike and Thatcher won. And since then what we've had is the right of government to really ride roughshod over the democratic wishes of people in this country. They no longer have to take into account what various groups within society think. So democracy isn't something which is bartered on a day-to-day basis. You get your chance to elect a government once every 4 or 5 years, and that's it. There's no discussion, there's nothing that you can do to change their minds about things. And since Thatcher, of course, we had Blair, and I'll give you a clear example of what I mean. Nearly 2 million people marched through London to oppose the Iraq War, the biggest demonstration in British history, and Blair ignored it. and went to war with Iraq. It's as if now politicians are so arrogant that they can do what they say and we have to just live with it. So what we're seeing now, I think, is Thatcher's legacy, because she was the first to lay that down as I am the boss and I would take no truck from anyone. And she said, the lady's not for turning. And pretty much every Prime Minister since then has been the same attitude. Which means that really, every 4 or 5 years, we elect a dictator. And that is not what I think democracy is about. So I think that is actually the most damaging thing that she's done, is create a parliamentary dictatorship.
We tried phoning the local councillors to ask a few questions for our film, but unfortunately they couldn't reply us. We tried sending them messages, they tried sending us contacts for 2 days, and they didn't even reply. So we went to County Hall to ask them about their opinions on Thatcher in Mould and the surrounding areas.
When we got to County Hall, we were greeted by 2 of the county councillors from Flintshire. From the moment they began to speak to us, it was suspicion and beginning to put barriers up. But not barriers as reasons they couldn't talk to us, but barriers to make it seem as though it was too much hassle for us to want to speak to them. The first things that we were asked were if we had permission from this person and if we had spoken to that person. When we had told them what the project was actually about, being Margaret Thatcher and the impact she's had on our county, they distanced themselves immediately. They said something which really caught us. It's too emotive of a subject, too controversial for the county councillors to be able to talk about, with one of them being in the cabinet. We couldn't understand why county councillors and politicians from our area weren't prepared to talk about something political, because it was too controversial. However, one of the women were prepared to talk to us about how it had affected our area by the shutting down of the steelworks and the amount of jobs that had been lost in our area because of that.
One of the councillors said that some things about Thatcher were a bit unkind.
Perhaps that was why she was reluctant to go on camera for us. I don't think I'm able to make an opinion on Margaret Thatcher yet, personally. The research that we've done has definitely helped me to understand her politics, and having speaking to people, I have a better view of how she has possibly affected the society that we live in today. What are your views on Margaret Thatcher after this week?
Well, I do know right from the start that she was the first ever woman Prime Minister. She was one of the most iconic figures in the 20th century. Famous quotes. Some of them were very funny. We were a grandmother. Now that's a bit of funny. And when she died, I think something's been lost in the United Kingdom. That she was a powerful woman, but some people really hated her. Like the miners, for example, because of the mine strike in 1984. Some people in Wales thought that Thatcher was a witch. I heard one quote from the newspaper from a miner saying she should have died 30 years ago. And I can't believe this fact, that they're going to spend £10 million on her funeral. 10 million! Imagine all the DVDs I can buy with that.
I do feel that her divisive personality has even shone through, even with her being gone, with the different opinions that people are having over her death as well. I think she may have affected the lives of young people today in the way that, from her quote, there is no such thing as society. I think what we did have as society then has deteriorated. Now young people don't understand their communities as well as they should, and the areas that they live in. Right, so I've got a very, very big double bed, and I slept with the dressing gown next to me yesterday. and well, I dreamt that Margaret Thatcher was in my bed, and she was asking me to pass her the newspapers. I had taken home all the newspapers we've been reading, and she passed me the newspapers. But I couldn't lift them up. I was trying to pick Andy up. So I told him 2 sides of Andy's shirt, and I was like, too tired, Margaret. Pass me the newspapers. I can't pick them up when I'm this tired, Margaret. That was just my dream. Pass me the newspapers. She wanted to read what everyone had been saying about her. But she wasn't old Margaret Thatcher. She was young Margaret Thatcher in a shirt. And we didn't know why she had gone to sleep in a blue jacket. She must have been very comfortable.